Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring some new products from Pretty Pink Posh. This is part of their May release, and this video is actually part of their video hop. So we are going to make this fun layered shaker. So like you see traditional shakers where they're more like the whole thing. This one has individual layers to it and it's super easy to achieve. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm using a couple of old products and new products. I love to mix my new and old. And then some of the ones that I pulled out, that's the Beehive Shaker, the real star of the show here. The stitched clouds, the stitched spring flowers I used, the everyday branches, and then these stitched bugs. You guys, stop it. There's ladybugs, there's bees, there's caterpillars, there's dragonflies, there's snails. Like, how cute are these? And then look at those little happy faces. Like, there's so many little happy faces. I love that. I plan on using the caterpillar because one of my daughter's favorite books is The Hungry Little Caterpillar. And so I thought that would be super fun to do a little card for her featuring the Hungry Little Caterpillar. So anyway, I'm going to do all of my die cutting out of colored cardstock for the most part. So I did the largest rounded rectangle, and that's kind of going to be like the base for my scene. And then my clouds out of white, my flowers out of purple. I chose purple because my bees are yellow and black, and yellow is purple's natural complement, so they're going to look really nice together. And then here, I'm doing the shadow of the hello out of vellum, and then I'm also doing the bee body out of vellum because I want the vellum wings. For my hive, I thought that I would do something to make my hive a little extra fancy, and so I'm die cutting that out of brushed gold cardstock. The yellow that I chose is going to be the yellow that I cut the bees out of. And then that little like gumdrop shape is actually like the little door to the hive, which is cute. We'll see that later. And then I'm going to run everything through my die cutting machine. Now, there are just a couple of things to know. I feel like you don't need to see all the die cutting, right? Like once you've seen it once, you've seen it twice, like you're good on it. So I do put my little pieces parts into a little craft catcher. I have a set of 3, and that's super helpful for keeping track of my pieces. And then when I'm cutting multiples, like here you can see I'm cutting multiples of the leaves. Like I just keep running it through while I'm running through everything else. For the Beehive Shaker, the base piece, so you cut that first. That's the part you just saw me cut out, and it's a solid piece. It looks like this. It has the little stitching dies. And then if you want to turn it into a shaker, which we obviously do, you are going to put the second die over top of the first die cut piece, and that's going to cut out all the middle. Now for this part here, this is where I'm cutting out the vellum wings and the body and the shadow. I'm putting that over my yellow cardstock because I find, first of all, it cuts nicer if it has another piece of cardstock behind it. But I wasn't 100% like I thought I would want the base of my bee to be yellow. That wasn't true, actually. I ended up flipping it. So there's 2 ways that we can make this layered die cut situation work for us. The first way is to cut multiples of this die. So I just have like some kind of old bajiggity, like kind of crumpled cardstock, whether it got like crumpled in transit or because my kids stepped on it. I guess that's happened. So I use these to build up those pieces, and then you'll want to cut several pieces. And then while I was doing it, I realized that I had actually bought adhesive foam to try this for my shaker cards. So the one that I bought is from scrapbook.com, and they're the A2 sizes. So I ran it through. It did take a little bit of muscle to get it through the first time. But I will say, once I ran it through, like I was very impressed because I ran it through once and then back the other way, and then it cut right through there. Like there's my base piece cut right through the foam. And then I thought, okay, well here's the real test, right? Because this is the more intricate section where I need like the little pieces cut out. And so I did that same thing. I ran it through once and then back the other way. And shockingly, that was really all I had to do. I expected it to be much more difficult to cut through that foam, but actually it wasn't really at all. And I was thrilled with the result. Now, I will say, you'll see later on, lesson learned, that this is actually not thick enough for a shaker card to work correctly. So you need to cut 2 of them. So if you cut 2 of them and stack them together, then that would be sufficient. I'm going to use the pieces parts that I cut out and that foam, and then that was fine. Then here for this, so that second piece that has no wings, that is the piece that cuts out all of the layers of the bees. So I did have to go back and cut that out of yellow and cut my other body out of black. But then I can go in and I can put my face in. Like, so I put that little face dye right over top of it and then cut that out, and it cuts out his little eyes and happy little smiley face. And then here I'm using the base of the dye to cut out my acetate lid for my shaker. And again, I had a little bit of trouble getting it to cut through. And here's a trick that you can try with acetate as well, is to put a piece of cardstock underneath it. It gives the dye almost like something to grab onto or bite into, and does help it cut through the acetate cleaner. You can also try putting it in at an angle. That sometimes helps. So anyway, now I have all of my pieces parts, and then we're going to get on to the building. Here I am doing my blue sky. So I like to do this with the blending brushes, even though like the blending brushes don't put down a ton of color and you have to really work to get a lot of saturated color. But they're great for like really soft blended skies. So I use Salvage Patina and Salty Ocean, and I just kind of put in a couple of different pockets of blue, and then I left some white as well to kind of act like soft clouds. While we're doing that, let's talk about the giveaways that are involved in this video hop. So Pretty Pink Posh is giving away a $20 gift certificate on each stop on the hop. So you're just going to leave your comments, follow the channel, follow Pretty Pink Posh, and then you will qualify for the giveaway if you enter your comment by May 20th. And then they will randomly pick winners and announce them over on their blog. So make sure you're leaving some love as you go, and you can hop along in the description below as well. So here, now that I have everything like inked up, I'm going to start kind of like laying my pieces out, and you can see here that the branches do face like 2 different directions. And so my game plan here was like, I wanted my little hive to be like in the trees. You know what I'm saying? Like tucked up in its little tree. So here is where I decided that banner was going to be too big. I love the banners. I'll probably use it on another card because I've already cut it. And then once I knew like that was my set game plan, then I'm going to start putting everything together. So because I want those clear little vellum wings, I'm going to trim off the black wings off of the bodies. So because I need this to sandwich my vellum in between, because I don't want to put any adhesive onto my actual vellum. You'd be able to see it. So I want to put the, I want to hide it underneath this black portion. So I'm going to adhere this black portion down over the vellum. So the vellum is actually the base now. And then I can add in my yellow stripes. So I did hit like the top of his head with the little smiley face that we cut out. So adorable, so cute. And then I'm going to do the middle stripe. And then that leaves his little bee tushy with his little stinger, both black. Yeah, look at how cute that is. So adorable. And then I'm going to put the other one together. For the flowers, I cut out the flowers and obviously cut out their centers. This is super easy to come together. I just use my crystal katana, or you could use any gem picker that you have, and to put those on there. I did choose to, originally I cut this out of craft, and I felt like it was a little bit light. So I did add a little bit of ink blending, but then... like I'm over here on a learning curve, okay? Because I'm thinking I got this foam, everything's gonna be cake. I'm like, but no. There's always an issue. So here I've put on the Distress ink, and I know from my own experience as a card maker that when you ink blend with Distress ink, sometimes like your low tack tape or adhesives, like they have a hard time sticking to them. This foam would not stick for nothing, y'all. it would not stick for nothing. So I ended up adding liquid adhesive. So that way I could kind of like press it in there and hold it for a second. So I did line it up. I also like the liquid adhesive because it does give us a little bit of wiggle room, which I think is nice, especially when you have like a thinner piece of foam like this. It can get misshapen. So I was finally able to get it down with the liquid adhesive. And then, like, this is what I'm saying. I was like, I'm golden. I got my foam down. I'm good to go. Like, the Lord is humbling me. He was like, girl, don't count your eggs before they hatch. Like, don't put the horse before the cart. You know what I'm saying? All the classic sayings. So I use this isn't this cute? I think it's called Be Happy, I think is what it is, the shaker beads. And I just put them in a little triangle, and now we have this layered look. So all of our little layers of our hive are going to have shaker bits instead of all of the shaker bits falling to the bottom. Okay, they're all going to have shaker bits. And then I quickly realized that they were not tall enough. Like, my foam was not tall enough. So I cut out the part where I desperately struggled trying to get those beads back into the triangle piece, and some did have to be sacrificed, RIP, because I didn't have a choice. But then I was like, okay, well, I have all these ones that I cut before I realized that I didn't need to cut them. So I think total it was like 5 pieces. And then I stacked those up, and that ended up being sufficient for me to have enough room for them to like shake. So then from there, I was able to, like, I did fill it up a little bit more, probably because I had to sacrifice some of those. So when I do that, like, I just put the triangle piece like right into the bag and like just scoop them out when I just need a little bit. And then I'm going to use a tape runner here. This is again where I could have made my life easier by die cutting those pieces out of cardstock that had double-sided adhesive attached to it. It's not like I don't own it. I literally just didn't think of it. So if you're like me and you don't think of it until you're in the middle of it, this worked fine. I just put tape runner on there, and that worked great to hold down my acetate. I have had in the past where when I've used liquid adhesive, it did not hold as well as I would like it to. So I have kind of switched to a dry adhesive for my shaker cards. But then that's it. I just pressed it down. And so now it has its lid on it. And then all we need to do to finish decorating it is to put on our brushed metallic kind of cardstock frame that will sit on top of it. And I just used the same dry adhesive for that. And then look at our little hive. Isn't that adorable? Isn't it just the cutest little thing you ever did see? So cute. And then of course I'm going to, shake it around a little bit. Here's what it looks like with the door if you put the door on. I didn't put the door on because of the way that I ended up arranging the card. You really wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. And like, we just went through all of that work to make this into this cute little layered shaker. So I really didn't want to cover it up like too much. So I'm going to start building the background. The background is really like, they're just supporting actors. So you know that I do love to color and add dimension and do all of those things. I did none of that when I was putting this together, because the star of this card is the shaker. So I don't want all of my elements competing. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have like an extra special, card where it's a shaker and you can kind of go over the top and above and beyond. But because I knew that the goal of me creating the card and sharing the video was going to be to show how to do this layered shaker, I felt like cutting them out of colored cardstock was sufficient. It has enough interest. We have a whole scene going on here, with the clouds and the branches and the flowers and the color play of the kind of like complementary colors, and we have the brushed metallic, the shaker. There's a lot happening here. This is actually I don't like to use the word busy because that I think has a negative connotation, but this is a more layered card than what I typically do. But I still think it came out super pretty. I just don't think that I needed to add anything extra. So then here Now that I have all the top parts done, I am gluing this down because the bottom parts are actually going to sit on top. So it gives the hive kind of like a tucked in feeling of like actually being inside the tree. So the flowers up top are behind, but the flowers on the bottom are going to be in front. And that does, like, you'll see that they do overhang. And obviously we have quite a bit of, can you hear them? Like, I just bumped the card. Can you hear them moving around? So there is a bit of a gap because we have quite a bit of foam and stacked cardstock. So there is a gap in between them. Once I get everything adhered, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take 2 layers of foam tape and stick them together and then tuck them underneath there. And then same thing for the bee, like where his little tush is kind of like hanging off of the shaker. I put that foam tape, that double foam tape there to help him, and then the same thing with the one on the top. So I ended up going with just the script hello without the shadow because you could still see, like, it put the sentiment on there, but you could still see the shaker through it, and I very much preferred that look. So you can see all my bits that are hanging off the edges, all my branches and, you know, stuff like that. And I just trimmed those off before I adhered it to my white card base, which, because we've done the ink blending, kind of has like a nice little white frame around it, which I totally love. Now, I did say, remember that I wasn't going to add all of like the ton of like extra coloring dimension and all that, but I am still going to add some detail work, starting with this clear shimmer pen. So I put that on the wings because who doesn't want shimmery wings? And then I also put it on the bees and the flowers because that's great. I could have definitely added some like white gel pen highlights, but honestly, I didn't think about it. I think I was just so excited to like be like shaking my shaker bits. So that is it. That's the full card. I hope that this inspires you to give one of these a try because I do think that extra layer adds a ton more interest with those shakers. And then please continue on along the hop. There's a lot of great inspiration to be seen. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I will catch you on the next video. Bye.